Hello and welcome. My name is Pat Gage, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about what to include in your letter of intent, or LOI. Okay, so first of all, we want to answer the question is, what is an LOI? What is it? LOIs are used in the commercial real estate purchasing transaction before the purchase and sales agreement is crafted. All right, it spells out major sections before we spend a lot of money on doing the purchase and sales agreement. Okay, they're useful to hammer out the broader strokes of the deal, right? Let's say financing, let's say due diligence, before the finer points can be talked about, and also really before you go, you're spending a lot of money, like I said earlier, on creating a purchase and sales agreement, because in the commercial real estate realm, the purchase and sales agreement is going to be a lot more detailed, a lot bigger than in residential. Okay, it often includes provisions stating that the deal may not go through based on financing, based on other things, due diligence in the execution of the due diligence, when certain documents are needed and the dates are needed by from the seller if you're buying the property, and you want to get those in an LOI so that the seller understands where you're coming from and kind of where the timeline is, right? If you go into an LOI and say, hey, listen, I'm going to do a 90-day close and this, and everybody's expecting a 30 to 60-day close, that may be a red flag, right? But you really haven't spent that much money on an LOI. It's better to find that stuff right now before you spend money on getting a lawyer involved, passing it back and forth between their lawyer and your lawyer, spending hourly wages, for a lawyer to come up and to find out that something that you could have done in an LOI very quickly and very easily. Okay, so why do you need an LOI? Well, first of all, because the broker and the seller are expecting it. That's what is normal in the commercial real estate world, right? That's the industry standard. LOI, letter of intent, a letter of agreement, whatever you want to call it, they're expecting it, right? So don't disappoint them, right? It's used before you spend, again, like I've said, big money on the creation of a purchase and sales agreement. Typically, our agreements and most buyers, we put the creation of the purchase and sales agreement onto the seller. So they go and create this, they spend their money and they spend their time getting the purchase agreement set up and done with their lawyer, where when they give it to us on our side, our lawyer is just reviewing it for our little limits, or I should say paragraphs we want in that, instead of spending a lot of money creating it, getting it over to the seller, and then we disagree, and go back and forth days and days and days. That's just a little trick there. So what goes into the LOI, right? So let's take a look at this. And again, this is not an all-inclusive list. This is not an exhaustive list of anything. These are just items that you should look at. What I will state, and I'll state this again towards the end here, I am not a licensed professional. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a broker. Please seek qualified real estate attorney to help you with this LOI. And once you get the template set, you'll be good, right? You don't have to go back each time to your lawyer. Get the main provisions, the main paragraphs in there. So what it should be is, obviously it needs to be in writing, right? Needs to be in writing, and this is basically what you're agreeing to and how you're agreeing to do this. It should be signed by both parties, right? None times of handshake and stuff like that, those are kind of over, because again, you're talking millions of dollars usually, or over 500,000, right, in a property. So you want to get stuff documented. You want to have them sign. You want to have you sign. It should state the the needed terms of the sale or lease of the property. It spells out what it is, like like the rent, what the price of the property, the name of the property, the legal description of the property. These are different things that, how are you going to convey interest in this property? Is it going to be a master lease option, or is it going to be a warranty deed? Those are the things that you want to put in the LOI. And again, this is stuff that you should have already talked to the broker or seller about in general, right? When you're talking terms, and again, finally, it should, be written clearly by each party. They prepare a final agreement. Now, some LOIs can be binding, right? Ours typically are not binding. We do want them to sign them. We do have a clause in there that they can't use this LOI and pit us against another buyer. So we do have that, and we've learned that over the years of putting that in there. And sometimes it may be a sticking point because depending on the competitive nature of the area you're going into. But again, these are things that you need to talk to your attorney about and for, okay? I'm just giving you little tips that we've used that has helped us, right? What are the major areas of an LOI? And again, your attorney's going to know this. You can go online and Google, LOI templates and get a good feel for what should be in there. Obviously, the date, the seller and the purchaser. Make sure that you have the seller. Make sure that you if you go to public records and it's John Smith, but you've been dealing with Susie Smith, well, make sure that Susie and John are on the same they're in the same table, right? And again, I've had that happen where I'm talking with what I'm to be, and the broker told me, hey, this is the seller, this is the decision maker. Well, come to find out, public record shows the wife is actually the decision maker. Okay, now we have a different ball game, right? Because it's the wife that's saying no. But again, getting stuff in writing, getting it in an LOI is the best way to do this. What's the letter of intent regarding? Are we doing a master lease on this property? Are we doing outright? Are we doing seller financing? Are we doing conventional mortgage? All that stuff. And again, this is these are the major sections. And again, this is not all inclusive, but this gives you a good idea of what this letter of intent should include. The purchase price. Again, are we purchasing it for a price? Are we doing a lease with option? Are we doing what we call a land contract or a seller financing? What are the financing and earnest money requirements we're looking at doing? Are we looking at the owner to finance it for us? Are we looking for 1% of earnest money, or the seller to credit us, whatever? And again, you've got to use this LOI as like a roadmap, right? Due diligence closing. How long are you looking to do due diligence for? You go in and you're thinking in your mind, oh, I'm going to do 60 days because of this. Well, the seller thought, wait a minute, I'm thinking 30 days. And you're going to close, one day after that. Oh, well, again, that's why we need it in the letter of intent. That's why we need to have stuff spelled out. And again, once you do this a couple times, right, you're not spending that much money. And you want to get this stuff ironed out now instead of, again, spending a big money trying to get this into a purchase and sales agreement. Number 7, biggest point here I got to make is, when does the LOI expire, right? These LOIs are not like, open-ended. You need to put it a date of when this ends. Again, motivation. You need to tell the seller, hey, listen, this offer is good for the next 5 days. This offer is good for the next 10 days, 10 business days, whatever it is. And they also have to have signature lines, all right? But again, the biggest thing there is when it's bolded there is, again, LOI expires. Again, you're just kind of touching the waters. You're kind of saying, hey, listen, what's going on? But you know what? Hey, this expires in 5 business days, or this expires by next Friday. You want to make sure you put that in there. But again, biggest thing I got to tell you, folks, is I'm not a licensed anything. Please talk to a real estate attorney. A real estate attorney, again, that's different than a general practice attorney, to go before you go submitting your LOI. The template that I use have already been checked by my attorney I live in Michigan, so I Michiganized it, right? There's clauses that should be in there to protect you in Michigan or in Colorado or in Georgia. Make sure that they do that for you, okay? Make sure you talk with them, say, listen, this is what I do. This is the business I am. I'm looking at not getting my foot in a jam, I'm looking at doing this legally. How do I protect myself moving towards the purchase and sales agreement? And the lawyers will be able to help you. And again, once you get it blessed by your lawyer, the next one is a template. You're not going to change too much on this. Now, if you do, obviously you go back to your lawyer and say, listen, I changed this wording here because now we're doing, seller carryback or whatever. Have them look at that so you don't get yourself in trouble. All right? Well, listen, I hope that this was a very informative video, and thank you very much for watching it. I'd love to give you a free gift. Please go to my website at www.opportunitycreator.com. I'd love to give you a free special report, and it's entitled, What's the Best Investment? The Stock Market or Real Estate? That may be a trick question, won't it? But please, thank you very much for coming and watching this video. Love to hear from you. Love to give you this special report, and we'll see you on the other side. Thank you very much.